大家好，欢迎到我的频道，很高兴你能来参观我的 YouTube. Today we have a very special video, and in light of the Christmas season, 我祝你圣诞快乐，新年幸福. I also have a little bit of a gift for all of you, but more about that later. We interrupt your scheduled programming for a brief update about the status of this channel. I get people contacting me for sponsorships now. Like, what? I'm actually shook. Ultimately shooketh. The most highest of the shookeths. I never actually anticipated being relevant enough for anyone to watch me, let alone have companies contact me for potential partnerships. But since I am a beacon of integrity in the vast sea of corporate sponsorships, or at least I try to be. Quick aside, did anyone actually buy the Raycon headphones that every YouTuber seems to be sponsoring now? I want to involve all of you in any potential sponsorship deals, especially if it pertains to language learning. I will only promote the things that I will actually use in my daily study, and I also will only promote things that you guys, the people who watch my videos, find useful. So today I'll take you through a new resource that I think could really aid in the transition from textbooks to native content. And let me know if you guys think that this would be a good partnership to pursue. And even if that doesn't materialize, the creator is really kind and has given every one of my viewers a 5% discount code. Just input the code SWEETBIANCA. And for the sake of transparency, this is not an affiliate link. I do not make any money off of this, and I am not making any money off of this video. It is my complete unbiased opinion. So there has been no transfer of funds. But who is this mysterious company that contacted me? And it's actually not a company. It's one of you guys, just a normal fan of my channel. Mungting, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not. I am probably not pronouncing that correctly. Is a Chinese teacher in the US who was frustrated by the limited materials available for her students, especially those of a more introductory level. And I've experienced this in my own learning. The beginning stages are so dry because I just don't know enough content. I don't know enough words to use things that I actually care about. But what is one of the tenets of the language acquisition camp? Compelling, comprehensible input. But what do I do if the only comprehensible input that I can find is boring, or rather not compelling? You just stick through with it. You go through all the boring stuff so you can taste the sweet nectar of content that you actually care about. Content that relates to your life and not just about getting friend-zoned by bianca. Any integrated Chinese users out there? And that's what I did for the majority of my journey. I'm only just starting the process of sentence mining shows and movies that I actually like after a year of intense study. And many require much longer than that. So a fan shows up and says she has the potential solution to make reading comprehensible content more compelling for both beginner and intermediate learners. A weekly magazine in Chinese. Think New York Times, but less politics and more Chinese. I'm intrigued. So I've been communicating back and forth with Mungting to get all of the details about the product and make this review for you guys. This review is not sponsored. I'll be sharing both the great things about it and also some of the limitations, and there's nothing in it for me at this point. I'm making this video because I think this resource could be incredibly useful for me and for all of you. So let me know if this is something you guys are interested in using, and I'll see what I can do to get you even more perks with the creators. Currently, Standard Mandarin Weekly is an online site, but there are plans to turn it into a weekly paper issue, which I personally vibe with a lot. I prefer paper things to online things because writing down notes really helps me with vocab retention, but the online features are equally as useful. If we look at the website, you can see the issues that are currently available. 4 are currently released and 2 are free. The other 2 will be unlocked if you subscribe to their weekly program. You can click on an issue and it'll take you to the various topics covered in that issue. And one thing I actually love about this format is that there are consistent topics covered in each issue. You have articles about culture, history, food, daily life, science, technology, and more. And you know what that means? Each week, you're able to slowly increase the number of words you know in each domain. And what does that mean for the inevitable transition to native content? You won't feel overwhelmed by the amount of unknown words. Are you looking to watch a show about food on Netflix? Well, you've already learned a lot about food from reading the articles. There's one here about Chenghuangmiao street food. We can click on it, we can see that it's HSK2 level. You get a nice pretty picture about what's going on, and then you have the text, and you have the audio for the text, and you have translations of keywords for the text. Are you interested in a sci-fi show? Well, you've already learned words pertaining to science and technology and sci-fi related things. Here's another article about aliens. Where are the aliens? Do aliens actually exist? And again, graded by HSK level. We have a picture, we have the content, the article, and this one is more extensive. We have the audio, and we have keywords translated as well. By reading smaller paragraphs or articles in a wide variety of domains each week, you'll build up the vocabulary needed to enter the fields of content that you actually want to consume. And you won't feel burnt out by it when you actually do. But the first question I had was this: how is this any different from other graded readers in the market? What about Chairman's Bao or Do Chinese? They also offer graded reader content just like Mandarin Weekly. So I hopped on back to my email and asked Meng Ting the same question. Did I actually mention that she's so sweet? She answered all my questions. Let me tell you, I asked a lot of questions. And her response was this: our idea is to provide a weekly publication to our readers who came here not only to practice language skills, but are also curious about many contemporary cool topics. Some of which include the cover stories, trends, life, science, Asian culture, food, chit-chat, serial stories, humor, and cartoons. We are more similar to a magazine with different themes than a layout of articles. And based in LA, we want to make the reading experience relaxing, chill, fun, and enjoyable, so readers can learn the language and more things beyond the language itself without noticing it. Mandarin Weekly has a narrative of stories and articles written at various vocabulary levels as well as various levels of formality. You'll write cartoons differently than articles about science. Also, the topics here are actually relevant to your life. You want to learn about how to use your phone in Chinese? Or about some of the cool slang that's happening, or maybe find a recipe about a specific dish you just read about. You can find it here. So I have one of the issues pulled up. This is from Friday, January 25th. And I have the PDF version. The creators were kind enough to send me this PDF version. So this is what the in-person copy will look like once they start releasing paper issues. We can see that there's a cover story about, again, the Chenghuangmiao street food, as well as various short articles. We have Valentine's Day in Chinese, we have magical eggs, we have who is your favorite member in Blackpink. If anyone's a K-pop fan, this is very useful for you. We also have who is Lisa Chi. Lisa Chi is a huge YouTuber who just talks about her daily life. So we can see how they're incorporating popular things in culture, things that we actually consume into this article, into this magazine issue. So now you can learn how to discuss about potentially a really cool YouTuber in Mandarin Chinese. They also have things about penguins in this issue, so you're going into more of the science-related content. They have history and culture. The one in this particular issue is about Confucius, learning how to read and how to write, and the philosophy surrounding Confucius, which is actually a very important part of Chinese culture and how people interact with language, how people perceive certain things. They also have a couple of recipes in here. We have stir-fried tomato and scrambled eggs. We have soy milk and deep-fried dough sticks. We have Peking duck and some of the origins of these things. We also have astrology, because this is a June issue. It's about Cancer and its lucky stone, the amethyst, and other things like that. You have an article about very popular books, So Journey to the West. That's a huge story as well throughout all of China. So you'll be able to understand the culture that a lot of people grew up with. And then finally you have puzzles and cartoons at the end of it, which really help make this a very well-rounded thing. It's not just about learning, but it's about enjoying what you're learning. It's about incorporating this into a daily part of your life, where you can have fun reading cartoons or spend more time trying to understand a more in-depth portion of technology or science or culture or history or philosophy. So comparing that to Chairman's Bao and Do Chinese, they also have articles that are very related. They have a lot of articles breaching similar topics, but I also notice that they have a tendency to write stories more so for the purpose of utilizing vocab. The articles don't have a coherent narrative to each other. You can find some pretty whack ones too, like pandas throw birthday party in Shanghai. Yes, pandas are cute, but I kind of need to know more relevant things while I'm at the graded reader phase of my learning. I also read another one about ancient Chinese currency, which was really cool, but it will be hard to translate the knowledge that I read in that article into future articles. You can't really use previously read articles to help you understand future ones because they're just not related in that way. There is no overarching narrative to what articles are placed, what topics they're placed in, what domains are being utilized. The more articles that you read that are related to each other, especially if they're related by the same topic, the more you'll remember that vocabulary. Words will be reused fairly regularly and it'll make up picking new ones much easier. One other great thing is that each article also has native audio on the website with an online dictionary, keywords, practice, and grammar for reference. So it's pretty much a one-stop shop for compelling reading comprehension and listening comprehension. I also got a sneak peek of what the issue will look like in person, and it's actually really, really gorgeous. So I'll put that on the screen over here. So here is my plan for utilizing this resource, and I actually will be utilizing it in my own personal study. 1, listen to the audio first on the website. See what I actually understand without studying. This will be a test of my listening comprehension overall. 2, read through the article and take notes on the physical copy when that's available or on a separate piece of paper. 3, refer to the website for questions, definition, or grammar notes. 4, make an Anki deck to actually review what I learned. And over time, you'll see that each section will be so much easier to understand because, again, since they're part of the same domain, the same topic, you're going to be reusing a lot of words regularly. So even if it gets more difficult in terms of the content level, it'll be much easier because you're slowly building up the necessary vocabulary to make that a more fluent type of reading. But there are some limitations, and I've actually communicated these limitations with the creators, and they've been awesome at responding to them. One thing you'll notice is that there's still a lot of English in the articles. There are certain words that are translated for you within the articles, and personally I would rather have the entire text all be in Chinese because I get distracted by the English. You know our brains, they like taking the easy route and focusing on English rather than Chinese. Currently though, the English was added to make the issues a little bit more of a relaxing experience, which will help build the daily habit of reading Chinese. If you're stressed out about looking up every single word, it's pretty hard to pick up an issue and just read it. But maybe that's just my overachieving nature though, since I do like to study everything and overstudy everything. But Mengting did say that they'll consider removing that in the future. Regardless, even with the English definitions, it's not so overwhelming and will be great for practicing extensive reading alongside intensive reading. And for some of the words that were chosen to be translated into English, it does make sense. For example, if we go back to the alien article in the first issue, you can see that there's certain things that are translated, and I'm not going to understand what the Fermi paradox is in Chinese, let alone understand what it is in English. So it does make sense to translate some of those more challenging things that will be hard to translate from issue to issue. It's specific to the topic that they're talking about, to the aliens. But since this is a more sci-fi related topic, you may not hear about the Fermi paradox again. So they're focusing you on the things that will relate issue to issue. Another thing that I also think is a limitation is that right now the levels only go from HSK 1 to HSK 3. And I did request Mengting to incorporate higher levels, and that is in the works. But even if you're just at HSK 4, just by the nature of the various article topics, you will definitely encounter words that you do not currently know. HSK is known for their breadth of vocabulary, not their depth of vocabulary, and see my HSK review videos for more on that. They don't teach you everything. They barely teach you most things in a particular domain. They just breach the surface a little bit. So even if you're at a more advanced level, it will still be very helpful to jump into more scientific and technology-based articles because you probably didn't learn much about that from HSK. They're also looking into adding an Anki function, which I think could be really amazing, but it may be some time before that materializes. I'm an Anki aficionado, so I really like using Anki, and having pre-made decks that correspond to each article would be a game changer. What I'm personally doing is making those decks on my own, but it does take time, and if it was just available, that would really step it up in comparison to the other graded readers on the market. So that is in the works. We'll see what happens to that though, but it is something that I did bring up to the creators. But to summarize everything, to wrap it up in a little teeny bow, it's Christmas time, right? I think that standard Mandarin Weekly is very useful to help the transition between textbooks or graded readers into native content. As you learn more about vocabulary that is predominantly used in these variety of different topics, it'll be so much easier to watch a TV show or watch a movie in that topic. Once you read a lot of articles about science and technology, watching a show about sci-fi is going to be so much easier. Once you read a ton of articles about food, watching some of the Netflix shows that they have on food, street food, food from all different areas of Taiwan and China, it's going to be so much easier to understand what's actually going on in there. You won't feel as overwhelmed by the content that you're seeing, by all these new words that you've seen because you haven't studied it previously. But this won't cover everything. It's not meant to cover everything. It's meant to help build a habit to read regularly, as well as help introduce you to more words in a particular topic that you may be interested in. It's supposed to help you find enjoyment in studying and reading regularly, especially if you're not at the levels yet where you can enjoy native content. So for that specific purpose, I think it's very useful. Will it get you to fluency? No, probably not. Most things won't get you to fluency in and of itself, but I do think it will help you to make that transition. One, make the monolingual transition, as well as get into native content that you actually care about while having fun along the way. But those are pretty much all of my thoughts about this resource. There's not many negative things because I actually really enjoy the product and love how great Mengting has been during our communication. Any concerns that I had, she's been very quick to resolve them and to tell me about progress to incorporate those questions or those comments or other feedback into the issues. So if you guys have any other feedback, any other ideas about the magazine, let me know in the comments below and I will relay that to her as well. Are there any other topics that you wish were added or other functionalities of the website or issues you think that could be useful? Mengting is very open to feedback, so let me know if this is a resource that you would actually use. Would it be beneficial to pursue an official partnership for more perks and increased improvement on the content? Let me know and I will definitely follow through with that. Again, thank you Mengting so much for contacting me. But again, thank you so much Mengting for contacting me and introducing me to this awesome product. And input the code SWEETBIANCA code for 5% off. Again, I am not making any money off of this. This is not an affiliate link, but it's just to help you guys. So I hope you all have a great time checking out this product and seeing if it will work for you. And if it does, feel free to subscribe. If not, then you don't have to do anything. But I hope you all have a lovely holiday season. I love you guys. 再见.